Hi, everyone. My name is Kateri Volpe, and I'm the librarian at Lincoln Avenue Elementary School. And I'm going to share with you one of my favorite books about gardens because I think we're probably spending a lot of time outdoors right now because we've been stuck in the house for so long. So here's my favorite book about gardens. It's called Muncha, Muncha, Muncha by Candace Fleming. So it's all about what you do when you garden, and maybe you have some visitors in your garden. Muncha, Muncha, Muncha by Candace Fleming. For years, Mr. McGreeley dreamed of planting a garden. He dreamed of getting his hands dirty, of growing yummy vegetables, and of gobbling them all up. But he never once tried it. Until this spring, said Mr. McGreeley. This spring, by golly, I'm going to plant a garden. So he hoed, and he sowed, and he watched his garden grow. I don't know if you can see who's in his garden with him. Lettuce, carrots, peas, tomatoes. Yum, yum, yummy, said Mr. McGreeley. I'll soon fill my tummy with crisp, fresh vegetables. But one night, when the sun went down and the moon came up, 3 hungry bunnies appeared. Tippy, 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 pat. Muncha, muncha, muncha. The next morning, Mr. McGreeley saw his gnawed sprouts, and he was angry. So he built a small wire fence all around his vegetable garden. There, he declared, no bunny can get to my garden now. And as the sun went down and the moon came up, tippy, 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 pat, spring hurdle, dash, dash, dash. Muncha, muncha, muncha. The next morning, when Mr. McGreeley saw his nibbled leaves and his gnawed sprouts, he was really angry. So he built a tall wooden wall behind a small wire fence all around his vegetable garden. Humph! He humphed. Those flop ears will never get over it, and no bunny can get into my garden now. But as the sun went down and the moon came up, tippy, 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 pat, dig, scrabble, scratch, 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 spring hurdle, dash, 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 muncha, muncha, muncha. The next morning, when Mr. McGreeley saw his gnawed stems, his nibbled leaf, and his chewed sprouts, he was really, really angry. So he made a deep, wet trench outside a tall wooden wall all around his vegetable garden. Ha! He snorted. Those pufftails can't get under it. They can't get over it. No bunny can get into my garden now. And the sun went down and the moon came up. Tippy, 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 pat. Dive, paddle, splash, splash, splash. Dig, scrabble, scratch, scratch, scratch. Spring hurdle, dash, dash, dash. Muncha, muncha, muncha. The next morning, when Mr. McGreeley saw his chopped blossoms, his chewed stems, his nibbled leaves, and his gnawed sprouts, he was furious. So he hammered and blocked and sawed and stocked, drilled and filled, trapped and locked, and he built a huge, enormous thing before the deep, wet trench, outside the tall wooden wall, behind the small wire fence, all around his vegetable garden. "I've outwitted those twitch whiskers for sure," he exclaimed. "They can't get through it. They can't get under it. Then they can't get over it. No bunny, no way, no how can get into my vegetable garden now." And the sun went down, and the moon came up. Tippy, 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 stop! The 3 hungry bunnies looked and smelled and touched the huge, enormous thing before the garden. Tippy, 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 pat! They hopped away. The next morning, when Mr. McGreely saw his untouched vegetables, he was happy. "I beat the bunnies," he whooped and jiggled and wiggled a victory dance. Then he climbed over, jumped across, squeezed between, and crawled under until he reached his vegetable garden. Sighed Mr. McGreely. At last! He smacked his lips. He picked and pulled up lettuce, carrots, peas, tomatoes, and with his basket overflowing, he reached inside for something yummy. Muncha, muncha, muncha. I think those bunnies won after all. Well, I hope you liked my favorite garden book, and I hope to read to you again soon.